Hello everyone, this is Warhawk Beyond 2040 and welcome to another edition of the Batwoman Season 3 review series. And today I am going to be talking about episode 10, Toxic, which I have just finished watching. And this was a really good episode, very enjoyable, and it looks like we've seen the end of probably one of the best story arcs of the show so far, but it also looks like we're going to be getting a brand new one, which is going to kick off in very epic fashion. More on that in a moment. So, over the course of season 3, we've seen Mary Hamilton become a version of Poison Ivy. She ended up going on the run with Alice, and she ended up killing someone in the last episode. And all while this is going on, we saw Renee Montoya release Pamela Isley from her prison in the Batcave underground, and she's more or less been on the run with her. And Pamela Isley, aka the original Poison Ivy, she's been on a mission to try and regenerate herself and get her pheromone powers back up and running. And the way episode 9 ended with Mary meeting Pam, and it ended very weird, I should say. It looked like Pamela Isley absorbed her life force. So episode 10 more or less picks up where we left off at the end of episode 9. And I have to say, this was very enjoyable. You know, I think this was probably one of the best episodes of season 3 so far, and I think the way they wrapped up this story arc with Mary Hamilton was done very well. Obviously, there are going to be repercussions, and the aftermath is going to be very interesting now that Mary is back to normal. So that's going to be quite interesting. But for the most part, I think the shining star of season 3 has to be Mary Hamilton, played superbly by Nicole Kang. Nicole Kang put out some of her best performances in some of these episodes, including this one in particular. And I think her and Rachel Scarsden had amazing chemistry, which was explored very heavy in a couple of episodes. And yeah, this was a very good way to wrap up Mary Hamilton's story arc. And the question is, where does she go from here? So what we have seen in this episode is it kind of looks like at first Pamela Isley has taken Mary Hamilton under her wing. She's teaching her how to control her powers. And we see Mary targets an insurance claim denier to punish. And we see that Mary and Pamela's bond seems to be power and passing the burden of each other. But obviously, we know that Pamela Isley has her own agenda, and we see Alice arrives to tell Ryan and the team that they need to go after Renee to get to Pamela. And we see Alice and Ryan get the drop on Renee and capture her and stop her from escaping. And Pamela reveals her big plan to take down Gotham River's dam. So we also see in this episode Luke calls in Sophie to help with Ryan, and Ryan obviously acts a bit awkward because they shared a little kiss at the end of episode 9. So now we've got this little will they won't they sort of scenario going on. They will probably hook up at some point. I'm guessing maybe in the next episode or maybe in the season 3 finale. Time will tell, really. And we see Jada Jet turns on the bat signal and calls for Batwoman, and she bargains for the Joker buzzer, which fried Marcus's brain when he was a child, in exchange for Marcus's return. Batwoman agrees to help, and we see Pamela's plan to break down the dam, and Mary isn't okay with it, and she doesn't like the idea of taking people's lives. So there is some of the old Mary in her. And we see that Gotham is pushing Pamela at her breaking point, and Pamela won't force her to do anything. So it looks like we see Pamela just stealing back more powers. But the more Pamela Isley is doing this, the more you can see Mary Hamilton is just getting weaker and weaker. And then finally, she just collapses. So she pretty much had her life force drained. And we see Alice and Batwoman go after Mary's ambulance to try and get her back. And Alice tells Batwoman that, oh, by the way, just thought I should let you know, Mary killed a hunter in the forest. So, just what you should know in typical Alice fashion. And while this is going on, we see Ryan tells Mary that she killed someone, and Mary says, well, no, I think I would have probably remembered if I killed somebody or not. And we see at the dam, Pam is killing more people, and Mary arrives and sees Pam and using too much of her strength to the point that she's killing her. And Mary says that this is the only way to get Pamela to trust me, is to give her what she wants, which is a power boost. So that works, but thankfully Mary doesn't die, and then we get an epic battle between Batwoman and Poison Ivy, and Luke puts on the Batwing suit and gets involved as well. So this was a good way to end the episode. We see Mary is restored to normal. The influence of Poison Ivy is gone, and we see Renee Montoya flies Poison Ivy out of Gotham to a remote island where she can live in peace. And we see at the very end of this episode, Jada Jet has more or less called out Batwoman, saying, well, even though she saved us, the dam still burst and flooded out half of Gotham. So she basically tells her, turn yourself in or else. So kind of like the Dark Knight sort of storyline a little bit. And all the while this is going on, we see Marcus has awakened from his coma. So that's all going to be a lot of fireworks going down. But it looks like for the next 3 episodes, we are going to see Gotham City turn on Batwoman. So that should be quite interesting in itself. So should be good. And now that the Poison Ivy story arc has been wrapped up, we are going to move on to the next 3 episodes. As I said, Gotham versus Batwoman. I don't know if that's what they're going to call it, but that's what I'm going to be calling it until they actually give an official title. Or maybe they won't give an official title. But by and large, this was a good episode. Really enjoyed this one a lot. Renee Montoya, basically making Pam choose me or, yourself, basically, sort of thing, or my love. So this was very, very good. I really enjoyed this episode a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see how the next 3 episodes are going to play out. But I think it's going to be good. And, I've quite enjoyed season 3. There's a few clunkers along the way, but I would say by and large, this has been pretty solid. And, finally getting to see Poison Ivy make her Arrowverse debut, it's been a real treat. So quite enjoyed this one a lot. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What was your thoughts on episode 10? Did you enjoy it? How did you think the Poison Ivy Mary Hamilton story arc wrapped up? Did you enjoy that? Do you think they did a good job? And also, how do you think the next episode is going to play out with Jada Jet more or less turning the city against Batwoman? And what about Marcus? We've been hearing the stories where he's been teasing that he could be the new Joker, or is he just going to be a psychotic madman without donning the makeup and the purple suit? How do you think that's going to play out? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below, and I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Batwoman Season 3 review series, where I am going to be talking about episode 11, which I'm really looking forward to seeing how it's going to play out, especially with the way this episode played out. Should be a good one. Looking forward to talking about that and seeing it as well. So until next time, take care everybody and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.